Okay, a talk that we have been really waiting for. We are very honored to have amongst us Justice K.S. Radhakrishnan. I'd like to invite him on stage. Justice K.S. Panikar Radhakrishnan is a former judge of the Supreme Court of India. Prior to that, he served as the Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court and the Chief Justice also of the Gujarat High Court. He has penned notable judgments such as Sebi versus Sahara and Nalsa versus Union of India. For animals, everybody knows the iconic landmark judgment of what is called Nagraja, which was the Animal Welfare Board versus Nagraja. Sir, you are an icon, in the animal welfare world. So, Justice Radhakrishnan.
Let me first congratulate the organizers of India for Animals for holding this conference away from the maddening city of Hyderabad. We are in a wonderful settings, and I am coming this part of the state for the first time. It was really wonderful settings. I'm so happy that there are a lot of participants today. Before I make my presentation, I'm so happy this is Mrs. Alwar, Norma Alwar is here, chairperson of FIAPO, Dr. Chini Krishna, Blue Cross of India, Mr. Anand Grover, I don't know whether he's here at the moment, I have not seen him, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court. Oh, he's here, okay, Supreme Court. Major General R.M. Karp was the former chairman of the Animal Welfare Board of India. Purva Joshi Puraj, she's here. And the representatives of Dog Trust, the Brigade Board of Foundation Compassion for World Farming, and other dignitaries and real animal lovers. It's a great honor for me to participate and speak on a very important subject on animal rights. Last month, I had participated in a conference organized by the Institute of Social and Economic Change, ISEC, Bangalore, which is a government-funded institute, on a topic of transgender people, citizenship, state and society. I had the opportunity to inaugurate that conference. While the meeting was going on, there's a lot of transgender people from all over the country were there, about 150, 100, 200 participants. She came from different parts of the country. So one of the speakers is one of the members of an organization, a retired bureaucrat. He mistakenly addressed them. There's only one, very innocently, because we can't cast any aspersion on him. He said physically disabled. Unfortunately, used that expression, physically disabled. So he thought transgender people is a medical issue or of some physical disability. So the moment he used that expression of physical disability, there was an uproar in the crowd. Many of them rushed to the podium. So we were taken aback. Very innocently said, because he's a real gentleman, he never meant anything also. So they came to the podium. But fortunately, I could pacify them because I was the author of the judgment. As I gave a lot to the transgender community in the country and also abroad. So I could pacify the crowd. See, that is when humanity, or I was just quoting this example, see, that small sentence of physically disabled has disturbed them. So we have nobody to speak for animals. So whatever we say animals, there is no response. Only the humanity can only come forward and respond to their need. Now, the judgment on transgenders, that was also very path-taking judgment because they were totally neglected in the society. Another judgment also, before I come to our topic, another judgment was on Orisa mining, because she must be interested. There is also some of the tribals totally neglected. So whenever we find in the society, when human beings are neglected, there are people to speak for them. But unlike animals, they cannot speak. They have no right to vote. They can look at only to eyes for compassion and sympathy. Nothing can be done. You look at any dog, any animal, look at the eyes. From you can make out the love and affection that it gives to the humanity. That is not there. That's what we call humanism. Now, we look at the social scenario in this country. For example, rights of women. Everybody, a lot of people to speak for them. There's a lot of legislation upholding the right of women. Domestic Violence Act and so many legislation, Dowry Prohibition Act and so many. Look at the legislations that we have made by the Parliament. There's more than 100 legislations protecting the rights of women. We have a National Women's Board, Protection of Board. I do not know the name of that board. It is for the welfare of the women. There's a national board, National Commission for Women, NCW. They have a commission to help them. When the recent Me Too is a big hit all over the world, so whenever it affects a person, a female, somebody, they feel it psychologically, morally, physically, and so on. People respond. Men respond, menfolk respond, people respond, all over the world respond. Channel discussions and so on. When you inflict a pain on a child, there's so many people to speak. We have a lot of legislation to protect the rights of child. We have the commission for a children's commission also, a statutory body which will look after the interests of the child. You look at anything, if you say scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, we have a National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. We have the Scheduled Caste Prevention and Atrocities Act, 1989. We have, for protecting humans, we have the Human Rights Act. We have the National Commission for a Human Rights Commission headed by a retired Chief Justice of India. So many things. But is there any single commission for the protection of animals? Nothing. Nothing. Only few persons speak for them. I have not seen any bureaucrat, I have not seen any politicians as organizing any function for protecting the rights of women. Naturally, they will not, because it's not used to them. Power politics, you need vote. It's not a vote bank at all. So you look at any infirmity, the women they not have the sufficient rights, so law legislation. Children also for protecting them, lot of legislation in this country. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribe also, we have got a lot of legislation to uphold their rights, but none we find for protecting rights of women. But for the animals. Now I just expose these examples, but we have sufficient, fortunately, unfortunately, we have sufficient provisions in the Indian Constitution to protect the animals. Maybe mistakenly, I do not know, but thoughtfully whether they have incorporated, I do not know. I have got my own doubts. Everybody caught Article 15AG, 51 capital AG, which fundamental duty is on every citizen to have compassion for living creatures. That's enough. Only compassion is sufficient. So everybody is compassionate. That's all. Do you think anything more is required? See, when I was going through the various judgment or the previous judgment of the Supreme Court, I was reading the various provisions of the Constitution, I found one article is more striking, which has never been discussed or dealt with in any judgment of the Supreme Court. That is Article 51AH. That is the most important article, which says fundamental duty is to develop scientific temper and humanism. That's exactly what we want. I'm sure all these participants today have got that humanism. That is exactly what is humanism? That is respecting all species of this universe. So that article was there. So Article 51, capital A, G, and Article 51, capital A, H. Read with Article 21, right to life. That has been explained in various judgments Supreme Court. Right to life means only right, not right to human life. Right to protect the environment is also a right to life under Article 21. Environment consists of all species, not animals. In fact, my daughter told me, see, when I was, my daughter is doing her PhD, University of Washington in Seattle, in the oceanography. So she used to do a lot of work on these mammals and all that. So one day I was thinking animals means lion, elephant, and tiger, wild buffalo, and so on. So I was just talking about regarding animal rights. She told me, "Sir, father, what are you telling? These are the only animals in the world? A small species is also an animal. If you go to the forest, you will find a small species. That's also an animal. This animal kingdom is so spread all over the country, much more than humanity, much more than human beings, much more than. But they have no rights. There's nobody to protect them. So these three articles, 51A, G, H, as well as Article 21, that's the basic foundation on which we could build up the rights of animals. Now, I have dealt with these articles first, not in a famous Jellicut case. The first time I have thought of this principle, that is ecocentric principle versus anthropocentrism, is way back in 2012, when I considered the protection of Asiatic wild buffalo. That's a state animal of Chhattisgarh. I have dealt with in the judgment of 2012, because Nagaraj is 2014, where you will find the importance of these principles of ecocentrism as well as anthropocentrism has been referred to. Wild buffalo is an extinct species. It is included in the IUCN red list. It is an extinct species. Hardly find few. That is only in Chhattisgarh. It is a state animal of Chhattisgarh. That is one of the earlier judgments which I dealt with. The second is the protection of sandalwood, red sanders. That's also red sanders. That was also in 2012, where I have dealt with the various principles, that is the public trust principle, polluter pays principle, and so on. Two paragraphs of the judgment is very important for those who advocate for animal rights. I will just read that two paragraphs. The public trust doctrine developed by M.C. Mehta versus Kamal Nath in 1997 Supreme Court is meant to ensure that all humans have equitable access to natural resources, treating all natural resources as property, not life. The principle also has its roots in anthropocentric principle. Precautionary principle and polluter pays principles affirmed by our courts in Value Citizens versus Forum versus Union of India are also based on anthropocentric principle, since they also depend on harm to humans as a prerequisite for invoking these principles. The principle of sustainable development and intergenerational equity presupposes the highest needs of humans and lays down that exploitation of natural resources must be equitably distributed between the present and future generation. Environmental ethics behind these principles were human need and exploitation, but such principles have no role to play when we are called upon to decide the fate of an endangered species, etc. Now, I have said in judgment that these principles of a polluter pays principle, or precautionary principle, or public trust doctrine, and so many sustainable development, If you look at these principles and read, you will find they are all humanly, only for humans. Human-centered provisions. If you look at any international covenant till today, you might have read all those covenants of Rio Conference and so on, United Nations Conference on protection of human rights and all that. All these principles are human-centered. It is for our purpose. Sustainable development is for our purpose. Polluter pays principle is for our purpose because we pollute and pay for that. Pollute and pay for that. Intergenerational equity is for us, for the next generation of humans. So I said in one of my judgment, and I also spoke on it in certain other conferences also, we need a relook of all these principles. Sustainable development, they never think of the nature. Polluter pays principle, you pollute and pay. You never think of other species in this universe, never think of. So we need a relook of all these principles laid by various international conferences, organized by the United Nations. I said, so that is why I said that we should have a separate organization of protecting the rights of animals, unless United Nations come forward to hold a conference. In one of my judgments, I specifically referred to that we must hang our head in shame because these animals have protected us. We have used them for generations after generations for our benefit, not for the benefit of the species. Nobody to protect them. That's why we said humanism. This is humanism. Protect other species also. That's why I'm sure that all of you have come here, but I can make out that because of that humanism. Otherwise, we won't find any politicians here. We not find any bureaucrats here. We will not find them because we are not concerned. So only those persons who come here are really had the humanism, the respect for other species. Now there are a lot of other principles also that will not take time. So and then I have also quoted some of the international conventions which tend to protect the animals. And one of the earliest one that in our Upanishad, I have quoted also in Isha Upanishad of 1500 BC, where it's clearly stated, universe along with its creatures belong to the Lord. No creature is superior to any other. Human beings should not be above nature. Oh, how beautifully it is written. Let no species encroach over the rights and privileges of other species. This is in 1500-600 BC in Isha Upanishad. You'll find such type of text in various other Upanishads, various other Hindu religious texts, and even Quran and various other religious texts. We find it, but it is there. We are not concerned with that. We are only concerned with our human benefit. Now these, and our father of the nation, also Mahatma Gandhi, also advocated for the rights of animals. I have dealt with all these things, and that's a second judgment. That is protecting the rights of plants. Then another one that is before Jellicut, that was of Asiatic lions. There's a very interesting judgment because Asiatic lion, it has presence in this country only in Gujarat, a Gir forest. But it was there earlier because that's the Asiatic lion is not in anywhere in the Asia, only in Gir forest. It was the environmentalists and scientists thought that there should be a second home for lions because in East Africa, because of a virus, CDB crime, that is a CDB virus, canine disturbed virus. About 30% of lions died in East Africa. So we thought something has to be done to preserve these about 400 or 500 lions remaining in the universe, that is Asiatic lions. So a matter came before the Supreme Court way back in 2000, which year? It is somewhere in 1995. It's lying in the cold storage. Nobody took it up. Nobody was interested. If it's anything about mining or somebody, then you would have an urgent petition, got it posted, and the top lawyers will come and argue, and days and days, nobody is there. So I thought from 1995 onwards, I became a judge in 1995. His writ petition was filed with the Supreme Court in 1995. I reached Supreme Court in 2009. Nobody's interested in this case. So many such cases. Not top lawyers are interested. Grover is there. Few matters are concerning with the animal rights. Otherwise, no. I have not seen anybody. I'm not naming those lawyers, top lawyers of the country, charging every day 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs, whatever it is. We don't find for in the court for advocating the rights of the animal because animals cannot pay. Animal can only look at their face. That's all. They say compassion. We have the compassion. But good that Grover and many persons have taken up these type of subjects. So 1995 writ petition. So when I was heading the forest bench, fortunately now I don't think a junior judge could have had a forest bench. I was fortunate, God's grace, because forest bench is normally given to the very senior most judges of the Supreme Court. But senior most judges of Supreme Court are not concerned with the rights of animals. For God's grace, I was sitting with the Chief Justice of India at that time. He's no more, Justice Kapadi is no more. So I was sitting with him 1 or 2 years. So he put me in the forest bench. Then the three bench, along with 2 other senior judges, they are not concerned. I'm not naming them. They are not concerned. So I got developed an interest to do something for a species. There is nobody to speak. I thought as a judge I should speak for them. So in the forest bench, it was a fortune that I've been there. So I was going through all the cases. One secret I can share with you. There is a very important case is still pending in the Supreme Court on elephant corridor. Because you find Karnataka, Kerala, Orissa and various find the elephant's home is encroached upon by human beings. The big resorts, big hotels are being constructed. Nobody is touching this case, pending there. There are about 90 cases in the Supreme Court is pending on this topic. So what happened, one vacation, I thought I must do something for this. So I took all the files to my home. Because there is summer vacation, we have about more than 1 month. So 2 weeks I sat there and studied all these cases. I thought when reopening, I thought I would take up all these cases and dispose the matter. Everything's okay, everything's fine. I spent so much of time. That is just before this Asiatic Lions case. Just after the Asiatic Lions case. I gone through the entire files, prepared a note, made a lot of research alone. Nobody to support. Then the reopening I found, there is a change in the sitting. For obvious reasons, I don't want to explain why. So obvious reasons. Then I was sitting with, at that time, Ranjan Gogoi was junior to me in that session. So I thought this is Gogoi, who was Chief Justice of India. See, he was so happy because I am doing a lot of work on it. I told Justice Gogoi, sir, after vacation there's a change. What change? Sir, I had taken all these 90 cases at home and I studied everything. I made a big note also. We can sit together and dispose the matter. At that time, Chief Justice was somebody else. He changed the roster, put some other judge there for some other purpose. Not that he has got anything against me, but for some other purpose. The entire case is lying still there. Grover, you can just look at that. 90 cases are there. 90 cases on elephant corridor. So this is what is happening. But God's grace, I could be there in that bench for some time. So I took up this Gir Forest case. That's a very interesting case. The relocation of lions was started somewhere in 1985 or so. A committee was constituted. They made an inquiry where to be relocated. There should be a place which is suitable for lions. So ultimately, they bracketed three places. One in Rajasthan, two places in Rajasthan, and another in Madhya Pradesh. That is a Kuno Wildlife Sanctuary. You must be knowing. And everything is good. Okay, the scientists are pressed for translocation of lions because of the experience of what has happened in East Africa. Committee was constituted. Animal Welfare Board also met. They also found the necessity of a second home for Asiatic lion. in Madhya Pradesh it's only for this purpose, only for this translocation of few lions so that we can save this species from extinction. 1,545 families were shifted from in and around Kunon Sanctuary for relocation of lions. About 24 revenue villages were also made forest. The government has spent crores and crores of rupees for a relocation of lions to state of Madhya Pradesh. Everything is good. Money has been spent. A lot of research has been done. Only thing remains is a relocation of 5 lions from Gir to Kuno Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh. When it's about to be done, there's an approach just like Jellicut, just like what you have seen in Tamil Nadu. There's an uproar in Gujarat. Gujarat said, of course, obvious reasons, political power is with them. It's not for publicity and all that. They said, it's a pride of Gujarat. Asiatic lion is a pride of Gujarat. Just like you say, inflicting pain on an animal is a pride of one state. Or it's our culture, it's our custom, it's our usage. Can you say? Inflicting pain on an animal on suffering, can it be a culture? Can it be usage? Can it be a custom? I am asking myself. I emphatically say no. I can't inflict pain on an animal. I can't inflict a pain on a human being. And one of the professors of Cambridge has said, the pain that is suffered by a human being is the same pain that's suffered by animal. You can cut your hand. What is the pain you suffer? The same pain that is suffered by an animal. Same pain. That is what one of the topmost animal scientists has said in an article published by Cambridge Law Review. Same pain. So when you fall down, you get pain. See, when you kill or inflict pain on an animal for a jellicut or whatever race it is, it suffers. Nobody to speak for them. Same pain. Now I was just digressing from the main thing. And then there's a great uproar in the state of Gujarat. This is a pride, this is a family member. We cannot part with lion. It's a state property. The Animal Welfare Board of Gujarat met. They passed a very detailed order. The matter was pending before Supreme Court. They passed a very detailed resolution saying this is a family member of the state. It's a pride of the people of Gujarat. We cannot part with this animal. Then the report of the Animal Welfare Board was placed before Supreme Court, came before me. Then I said, I am not concerned where is a family member. I am looking at the point of an animal, looking at the point of an endangered species. I had to speak for this species, nobody to speak for it. I had to speak for this endangered species. Only 400 and below 444 in number. It cannot be a family member. It is not the wealth of a state. It is the wealth of the universe or it is the wealth of the country. No state can own an animal in wild. No state can claim ownership of an animal in wild. It is the property, wealth of the people of this nation. If you go little far, we can say, we have seen migratory birds. Who is the owner of these migratory birds? We have from various countries, lot of birds coming to India, from here also vice versa. Can you say, I am the owner of this bird? Can any country say, I am the owner of this bird, migratory birds? No. So I repel the contention. I am not concerned whether it is a family member. I am not concerned about your pride. I am not concerned the pride of the people. I am not concerned the pride of the human being. We have rejected that. And we said, we will apply the best species standard doctrine. We are only concerned with for the species. look at the necessity of a species. It is our fundamental duty, and both the articles, to save this species from extinction, at least for the next generation. So we passed a very, very detailed order. After hearing them, the matter was taken 2 or 3 months. It was argued. All issues were considered. Wherein also I have enunciated all these principles. These are all before Jallikattu. I have, in that judgment, I have specifically referred to both these principles, anthropocentric principle as well as ecocentric principle, where I have referred to what is sustainable development. This has been explained by United Nations. This is what the definition, what they have given. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. These are human needs. What is a sustainable development? For our purpose. So this is an anthropocentric bias. When the sustainable development principle was evolved, they never thought of other species. They thought of only human beings. Sustainable development, I still said, sustainable development has been argued by various eminent environmentalists, clearly postulates anthropocentric bias, least concerned with the rights of other species, which lives on this earth. They are not concerned. We have said that we need a relook on this principle. Just like other principle I have already said, intergenerational equity, polluter pays principles, public trust doctrine, on so many doctrines, all on fundamentally wrong basis, all these principles were enunciated. We have dealt with that also. And we have also dealt with Article 21 in the judgment. Ultimately, in that Gujarat case, we passed an order directing relocation, because money has been spent in Madhya Pradesh, Kunu sanctuary. Course of public money has been spent, and everything set for the transportation of lions. At that time, another notification was issued. You must be knowing. They wanted to import cheetah into the sanctuary. They want to, from Africa, Nairobi. It is surplus there. They don't want cheetahs. The population is so much, it's disturbing human beings, so they want to export it. We are buying it because there is unwanted animals for that consent. We are going to stay. Now, this purpose of developing Kuno sanctuary is not for importing cheetah to that sanctuary. It's only for the purpose of, only one purpose, relocation of lions. Then we pass a very detailed order directing relocation of Asiatic lions from Gir forest to Kuno sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh. This judgment was passed as early as 2013, almost 4 years and 5 years over. It still remains as it is. The reason is obvious. And recently, I think 23 lions were died in Gir forest because of this canine disturb virus, and much more likely to die. Now somebody has moved a petition to Supreme Court to take up for implementing this judgment. This we visualized. We visualized this will happen. Way back in 2013, though writ petition was filed in 1995. In 2013, we delivered judgment, and we visualized something will happen to the lions because it happened in East Africa. We want to save this species. So 2013, we passed a very detailed order for translocation of lions to Kuno sanctuary. That remains as it is, and we have seen what is happening in Gir forest. 23 lions already died. I don't know how much it will, we do not know. So this is the position now. These are the things we have to look at. Now, after all three judgments of Asiatic lions as well as wild buffalo and red sandys, those and plants, animals, the last one was on Jallikattu. That was on delivered on 7/5/2014. After this, after rendering this judgment, within 2 weeks, I retired from service. So that is one of my last judgments, which is now being quoted. And I'm so happy that many of the participants have told me that it has become a magna carta for enforcement of animal rights. If it is of any use to you, I'm really happy. And I'm so happy that I never knew that the judgment will have so much of relevance and so much of create so much of enthusiasm among especially youngsters who are here, which is I've dealt with almost all the principles. It requires a lot of labor, a lot of study at home. Overnight you cannot write a judgment. But I thought I will do something because I have already dealt with the importance of the species already. So I thought I must do something for this. I have seen so much of their sufferings. I did it not on myself. I had the support of the Animal Welfare Board of India. The personalities change according to various reasons. Persons who stand up for the right of animals, of course, they are no place to be there. So various reasons, because the government want to impose their views on an independent statutory body created under an act. It's a very responsible body. It's an independent body. Creation is created by a statute. But things, what happened, they cannot voice, just like, I'm not saying they are animals, just like animals, they have no voice. They cannot speak out. Sorry for using that, but they cannot speak because due to obvious reasons. And now, before the judgment, I was so particular. I want the views of the experts because I don't want to express myself. I should have a basis. I am not an expert on animal rights. Whatever I read through the literature, and that's only my experience. But persons who are in the Animal Welfare Board, they are involved in the subject. So I wanted their views. Then only it will give strength to me to write a judgment. So the matter was referred to the Animal Welfare Board of India. They sent their team to various places of Tamil Nadu, especially southern part of Tamil Nadu, Madurai and that area. The team went there, directly seen in reality is what is happening there. They have witnessed that. They have taken video of a very, program of this Jallikattu. It's all placed before the court. They themselves report to the court of the pain and suffering inflicted to these animals during the festival time. And somebody says we are inflicting pain only once. Just like killing somebody, we are killing only once. Twice we are not doing it. It's only a seasonal. It's only a 2 days or 3 days affair. Why should you worry about that? If somebody cut your leg or cut your hand, can you say it's only once, not twice? The atrocities that is committed to these animals, you must see, and I have seen the photographs. It's atrocious. No human being can inflict so much of pain on another species. So I cannot explain the type of atrocities they do to these animals at the time of this race. Otherwise, see the problem. They called Vadivasal because there's an enclosure. This animal is brought to an enclosure. Nobody can see what is happening in the enclosure. It's completely covered. Normally, when you see that, I dealt with my judgment also, in a Jallikattu judgment also. When you see from the enclosure, you find a humanity of people with lot of sound. Lot of sound all over because of balcony, everything. The entire human beings are there to watch this so-called sport. The animal will not go because the scientists say that once you get a sound, animal will try to withdraw. It will not go to that place. It cannot go. It always withdraws because it's a fear. Because of fear and this thing, he will retort. He will never go. But how to go to the arena? The animal has to go to the arena. Voluntarily, it will not go. You cannot speak to him and ask him to go. It will not go unless you inflict some suffering, unless you inflict some pain. The animal will not go to the arena. It cannot go to the arena. That is exactly what is happening in this closed enclosure. I don't want to explain what type of injury, harm is caused to this animal. Because I can't explain. No human being can explain. So atrocious. And these reports were filed. Filed by a very eminent body of Animal Welfare Board of India. So I got all factual foundation. I need only apply the law. I need only apply the law. Factual foundation well set. Scientists' opinion is there. Environmental's opinion is there. Report of the Animal Welfare Board is there with evidence, with direct evidence. What more is required for a judge? Factual foundation well laid up. I need only apply the law. I have applied the law. I have applied Article 21. I applied Article 51G, H, and so on. Ultimately, I said it's atrocious. The only ground they raised against judgment was culture. It's our culture. That also I dealt with. One paragraph I dealt with. I only refer to few aspects. I dealt with compassion, 51AG. I dealt with humanism for the first time. I have not found any judgment Supreme Court which dealt with the expression humanism. I'll read only that portion. Article 51H says, it shall be the duty of every citizen to develop scientific timber, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. Particular emphasis has been made to the expression humanism, which has a number of meaning but increasingly designates as an inclusive sensibility to other species. Humanism also means and understand benevolence, compassion, mercy, etc. Citizens should therefore develop a spirit of compassion and humanism which is reflected in the act. I'm sure this compassion and humanism I can see visualized from the gatherings. Otherwise, you would not have been here. You would have been elsewhere. Because you are speaking about a species which cannot speak. You are here to assemble, you are assembling here and taking so much of pain to come over from all parts of the country for a species which cannot speak. We will find conferences where if you watch the vote bank, you will find overcrowding. So I'm so happy that you have inculcated this feeling of humanism. I'm so happy that all of you have inculcated the feeling of compassion. And speciesism, as I said, one paragraph I spent on speciesism. The species also got a right. It's a very lengthy judgment. I don't want to take you this entirety. You must have read it many times. And I have also gave a differentiation between essential activities and non-essential activities. This is not an essential activity. Inflicting a bullock rice is an essential activity. Conducting Jallikat, is it an essential activity of the human beings? For our pleasure, nothing but pleasure or money. It is not an essential activity. I interpreted some provisions also said this is not an essential activity. And it's only for pleasure, enjoyment of human being, inflicting pain on another species and enjoy yourself. See the pain and enjoy yourself. This is just like a rape. Just like a rape. Whatever enjoyment you get it, that's all. It's a raping of an animal. You get enjoyment. That's what is happening. This also I have dealt with, and I have also dealt with extensive right of life, right to life. Somebody said Article 21 is only for human beings. No. Fortunately, this is all God's grace. Fortunately, we have something in the Constitution to help the animals also. I think the Constitution makers, not in the Constitutional Assembly, nobody thought of in this line. But God is great. Some of the articles helps advocate the rights of animals also. So right to life has been expanded by Supreme Court in various judgments. In Kamal Nath judgment, MC Mehta case, and so many judgments. Right to life includes right to the environment, right to the environmental rights also. Environmental jurisprudence has been expanded by Supreme Court in so many cases. It will take days and days to explain all those judgments, several judgments. So fortunately for us also, looking at all these articles, it has got a strong foundation in our Constitution. Not that there is no law. There is law. Maybe accidental, but it is still there, on which you can build up. So as in detail, I have dealt with the right to life. And I have, on legal principle, I have set aside the Tamil Nadu legislation on the ground of repugnancy. I very much doubt that the present enactment After an uproar, you have seen in Marina how many persons have come forward for a species which cannot speak. 80%, the Marina was overflowing. For what? They want this sport. They say it's culture. It's not a culture. I explain in depth what is the culture of Tamil Nadu. Inflicting pain or suffering in animal is not the culture of Tamil Nadu. It is not the culture. But they say because politics plays its own part. Brought a legislation, I'm sure it is pending in the Supreme Court. Let us see what will be fate. These are dealt with extensively. And I have also dealt with several international conventions also. I don't want to take you to all those conventions. But I'm so happy a momentum has been created through all these judgments. The last one of Jellikattu. A feeling of compassion, real feeling of compassion and humanism to other species, especially youngsters. Whenever I speak, wherever they go, when I interact with the youngsters from the law college and various other institutions, and they feel it. They want to do genuinely something for this species. That is humanism. That is what is expected from a real human being. You have, for women, we have enacted so much of legislation, I already said. That is human. For children, we have made a lot of legislation that is human. That is humanism. SC/ST, we have created a lot of legislations that is humanism. We have Me Too now, we have already indicated. So many persons are coming forward. It's good, it's a humanism. That is, so for animals also, we should have humanism. That is reflected in this gathering. I'm so happy about that. I'm sure that you can build upon the judgment, work on it, especially youngsters, so we can do something for this species. I think there must be international forum for protecting the rights of humans, just like United Nations. There must be international conferences for this. Of course, other countries, Norway, Germany has made an amendment in their constitution. We're giving a right to life to the animals. It's a fundamental right under the German constitution. I think Norway, Argentina, and various other countries have now recognized the rights of animals as a fundamental right. In our judgment, I also advocated for the necessity of raising into the fundamental rights, even though we can put it under Article 21. I think one day, today or tomorrow, our administration, our political leaders will come forward, and there may be at least a commission, just like a women's commission, children's commission. There's a commission for protecting the rights of animals also. So these are some of the issues I want to speak to you. I'm not taking much of time. It has already taken too much of time, much more than the time allotted. And I'm really happy that the organizers have thought of me, and they invite me about 5 to 6 months back, so that I cannot say no. So I already noted in my diary that I'll be going to Hyderabad. I told my wife also she wanted to come, but somehow she could not. So once again, thank you for your patience, and thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Dr. Chinni Krishna to present to Justice Radhakrishnan a token of our appreciation.